Johnson delaying the process. Trump doing everything he can to create headlines everywhere else because he doesn't want us focusing on the Epstein files. We were born that night, not last night. You know what the hell is going on. But the Dems ain't innocent in all of this. Not by a damn sight. Speaking of the Epstein files, Representative Adelita Grijalva, she was a guest on this show. She was sworn in this afternoon. And she spoke about the Epstein files because ABC News came out with a story today linking Trump to the Epstein files because Jeffrey Epstein, seen during emails or via emails, essentially alluded to the fact that Trump knew about the girls, whatever that means, without specificity. Adelita Grijalva spoke about that because obviously once she's sworn in, she's the final deciding vote for the Epstein files to be opened and essentially given to the public, supposedly. And here she is today on the House floor, speaking about it. Griff, play cut 5.
Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people. We need to fight for our immigrant communities and veterans. We need to stand up for our public schools, children, and educators. We need to respect tribal sovereignty in our environment. We need to stand up for LGBTQ plus rights because that's what the American people expect us to do. Fight for them. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files.
Y'all cool with that? I have no problem with the Epstein files being exposed. I think anybody who's done what Jeffrey Epstein did should be thrown under the damn jail. They should spend the rest of their natural born life in prison if he was alive to do it. Young girls being sexually molested is as disgusting as it gets. It is as vile as it gets. We ain't making any excuses for anybody like that. What a despicable, despicable human being. There's a special place in hell for people like that. But that's not what anybody can definitively associate the president with. He knew Epstein, so did Bill Clinton. So did a plethora of other famous people inside and outside the world of politics. Incriminating emails, well, what specifically and how significant was it? And when we sit up there as Democrats and we're applauding on the House floor, now that Adelita Grijalva was there talking about she'll be the final vote to sit up there and open the Epstein files, and everybody's applauding for the Democratic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that the Epstein files were in existence and free to have been opened during the Biden administration. You were there for 4 years. How come you didn't open it as a Democratic Party then? What am I missing? I'm not saying I know. It's a legitimate question. Maybe I don't remember the answer. Maybe my extraordinary producers should be able to help me during the commercial break. But from my understanding, the same files that were open or being open now with the 220 pages of documents or whatever it is, with various emails, that could have been done when Biden was in office. Well, why didn't you do it? If it's so important now. What were the Democrats doing at that particular moment in time? See, this is the kind of stuff that smells. Because my attitude is just deducing how much they despise Trump is if there was some real bona fide dirt on him, since you went after him with the 34 felony convictions, which essentially was deduced to him paying hush money to Stormy Daniels, a porn star, just so she wouldn't reveal their happenings with one another leading up to the election in 2016, okay? If you had something like that you were willing to parade him through the streets with, of course, if you had something on him about Epstein, you'd have let it go earlier to make sure he didn't become the 47th president. That's just my thinking from a logical perspective. But what do I know? Either way you slice it, when that kind of stuff is going on, all it does is foster the continual divide that is inevitably going to exist. One side hates each other so much that neither side is willing to negotiate and work with one another until desperate times means desperate measures. And the American people are the ones that suffer first, and they're the ones that suffer the most before the residual collateral impact is truly, truly felt. That's the damn problem. And even with the end of this shutdown taking place, I still find myself thinking, more the same, ain't nothing new. A continual resolution likely be reached, be signed, shutdown will probably end. It's going to end today. And as a result, okay, the government will be financed through the end of January. Let's get through the holidays. At least this ain't going on during Thanksgiving. At least this ain't going on through Christmas. At least this ain't going on through New Year's Eve. And we'll go into the New Year's, and then we can be the same old sorry asses we've been. At least this ain't going on during Thanksgiving. At the expense of the American people. 866-967-6887. That's 866-96-POTUS. Up next, Democratic representative.
And we're going to turn and listen in to the business on the floor and the swearing in of the latest member of Congress.
Overdue justice and accountability for hundreds of victims abused by rich and powerful men. She is a smart, principled fighter through and through, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor to welcome and introduce to this chamber Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva.
Muchas gracias. Good job. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Thank you to my colleague and friend, Congressman Stanton, for that kind introduction, and to the entire Democratic delegation from Arizona and the delegation that stood here with me that has supported me throughout this process. I rise today the proud granddaughter of a bracero, a hardworking Mexican immigrant who came to this country for a better life. And I stand as the proud daughter of a U.S. congressman, a man who spent his entire life fighting for justice, equity, and dignity for the most vulnerable. Yeah. From working as a vaquero to serving in Congress in just a single generation, that is the promise of this country. That is the America I want to raise my three beautiful children in, Adelina, Raul, and Joaquin. Stand up, baby. Look at them. They, along with my amazing husband, Sol, and my wonderful mama, Ramona, are here with me today. Muchas gracias por su apoyo y tu amor. And thank you to la gente of Southern Arizona for making history, electing me the first Latina, the first Chicana from Arizona to ever go to Congress. Este momento es histórico para nuestra comunidad. Es un honor ser la primera latina en representar a Arizona en el Congreso y les aseguro que aunque soy la primera, no será la última. And while we celebrate this moment today, our American promise is under serious threat. Basic freedoms are under attack. Healthcare premiums are skyrocketing. Babies are being ripped away from their parents by masked agents. We can and must do better. What is most concerning is not what this administration has done, but what the majority in this body has failed to do. Hold Trump accountable as a co-equal branch of government that we are. It has been 50 days since the people of Arizona's 7th Congressional District elected me to represent them. 50 days that over 800,000 Arizonans have been left without access to the basic services that every constituent deserves. This is an abuse of power. One individual should not be able to unilaterally obstruct the swearing in of a duly elected member of Congress for political reasons. Our democracy only works when everyone has a voice. This includes the millions of people across the country who have experienced violence and exploitation, including Liz Stein and Jessica Michaels, both survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. They are here in the gallery with us this evening. Thank you for being here. Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people. We need to fight for our immigrant communities and veterans. We need to stand up for our public schools, children, and educators. We need to respect tribal sovereignty in our environment. We need to stand up for LGBTQ plus rights because that's what the American people expect us to do. Fight for them. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files. Justice cannot wait another day. Adelante, mi gente. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. I yield back.
To turn it over to law enforcement. I'm 2 years in now, and no one's been arrested. So my heart and my pain is with the Epstein victims, and it's with every single man, woman, and child who's ever been abused and never gets justice. And if this can happen to me as a sitting member of Congress, it's happening all over the country to people everywhere. And I just want to give people hope that I see you. If you're a survivor, I see you. 2 years ago, I left my home, I left my car behind, I left my life savings with my abuser. I had nowhere to go. I lived in a one-bedroom garage apartment with 2 children 2 years ago, almost to the day. And I got through it. I found God's grace. And about a year ago, I was able to get a home for me and my children. But I moved 4 times. I've been through so much. And so my heart is with them tonight. My heart is with everybody across the country, every single person who's been abused.
Given your background, given the way that your heart is with these victims, when the White House approaches you and makes clear the fact that they don't like the discharge petition that is moving through, that has the votes, what do you say to them about the fact that they could help these victims get the kind of transparency that they are demanding?
Mm-hmm. Well, the president, he's been so good to people like me, to survivors like me, and I have supported him because he has protected women like me. I have told the White House that the Oversight Committee is going to be releasing more information than this discharge petition, I believe. And so, that's, I think, a relevant fact here and important. But for me, again, I'm never going to abandon victims. I'm never going to abandon survivors. And in fact, in the last 2 years, I've drafted over a dozen bills to protect women and children. And I think it's very important that, that we do what we need to do. And the president's been exonerated by the Epstein victims.
So and what I saw today, why not just let the discharge petition happen?
You have to ask him that question. But like today, I agree with the president that there is legitimacy in his argument where he says this is a witch hunt. Look at today what the Democrats did today. We're reopening the government, and they just did a great disservice by focusing on Trump today. And I am deeply frustrated with the press. All this focus on Trump, who's been exonerated by the Epstein victims, and we're not focused on the Epstein victims or their stories. Why isn't a former prince behind bars? Why isn't the alleged magician behind bars? Why aren't the alleged billionaires and business people who were raping kids? Why aren't they behind bars? And those are the stories I want to hear, that I want to see the press tell the stories of the Epstein victims, because I do believe this is a witch hunt with Trump. Look what they get Democrats today. They've released, 2 or 3 emails? The Republicans released 20,000 emails because they just wanted to focus on one little thing. The Democrats redacted emails to try to spin the story in light of the press. Republicans, they released them all. They were unredacted. So this is a game that Democrats are playing. I think it's disingenuous to women, disingenuous to survivors, to everyone who has been through something like this. It is disingenuous. I don't like playing politics with rape. I don't like playing politics with child rape. I don't like playing politics with sex trafficking, but that's what Democrats are doing, and it's infuriating to me as someone who this is a very serious issue, and it's one of the reasons women don't come forward, kids don't come forward. We're not taken seriously. We are judged, we're shamed, we're attacked, we are smeared. My God, I was just sued the other day by a rapist, allegedly. A man that raped multiple women allegedly is now suing them. What? And women, like myself, I feel abandoned by the system. I think the system is completely broken, and I'm just going to keep fighting like hell for everybody out there. And I don't care, let the chips fall where they may, personally and professionally. I can only share my story and the story of other survivors because it just means so much. I want them to know, I want every Epstein victim to know, I want every survivor out there to know that I see you, I hear you, your pain is my pain, your fight is my fight, and I want to do whatever I can to get you justice.
Did the president or his staff pressure you to?
See, again, you guys are just focusing on Trump.
He is the president.
You are focusing on Trump. I talked to the president last Friday, and he and I have played phone tag over the last 24 hours. But this is my problem with you guys and the press and in the fake news. You're just honing in on Trump. Why aren't you talking about Prince Andrew? Why aren't you talking about former Prince Andrew? Why aren't you talking?
To take their names off the discharge page.
That's his prerogative, but I want you guys to tell these women's stories. Why is it so hard in the press for women to be taken seriously when they've been abused? I've seen what you guys have done to me. You guys have smeared me, defamed me, attacked me, spread a bed of lies, and the same thing happens to other women like the Epstein victims. No one wants to tell these stories. It's almost as if rape is a four-letter word, and it shouldn't be, and if it makes you feel uncomfortable, good. But you guys are telling the wrong, you just want to say Trump for clickbait.
No,
and that's not what this is about.
There's a big vote that's happening in the House floor.
And we're voting to reopen the government, and all you guys are focused on today is
we've been covering the government shutdown nonstop for the last 43 days. The president, did he ask you to take your name off the discharge?
We've been playing, no, he has not. So we played phone tag the last 24 hours, and I talked to him last Friday. He helped me get brain surgery for a young woman in Virginia.
National Affairs correspondent Jeff Zeleny, he is at the White House for us. Jeff, good to see you. Sources telling CNN that top administration officials met today in the Situation Room about the House vote. What does that tell us? What are we learning?
Well, Casey, look, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that in the briefing today, confirming our CNN reporting that Lauren Boebert, of course, a single member of Congress, not a leadership member, not on any key committees, had that meeting in the Situation Room with the Attorney General of the United States, with the Deputy Attorney General, with the FBI Director. And of course, Lauren Boebert is one of the Republicans who has said she would cross over and sign that discharge petition, which would allow the House to go forward and vote on releasing the Department of Justice Epstein files. Lauren Boebert has just told our colleagues on Capitol Hill that she has no plans of changing her pledge to vote for that. But that extraordinary meeting here at the White House just underscores the stakes of all of this. The White House sought to explain the meeting in the Situation Room earlier today like this.
It is not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government.
Why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency?
So an extraordinary briefing by any measure. I cannot recall a time where effectively a rank and file member of Congress would have such a high level briefing in the Situation Room of all things. But never mind that. President Trump also pushing back in a very significant way on Truth Social throughout the day about the release of the Epstein files. I'll read you just a flavor of some of what is on his mind, Casey. The president writes this: the Democrats, he says, are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. Any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country. However, when the new member from Arizona is sworn in, the discharge petition is scheduled to happen sometime after that, and then the shutdown vote happens later this evening. But the bottom line to all of this is the whole reason the House of Representatives has been away for nearly 2 months. It is to effectively try and end the whole Epstein conversation. Well, that is right back happening this afternoon in ways the White House could not have anticipated it. So yes, they were scrambling a bit on this. But again, we should point out, even though the president's name has been mentioned several times in these in very interesting ways, still no evidence of any wrongdoing by him. But a question is, was he aware of any wrongdoing by Jeffrey Epstein? And that is less clear. Casey?
A remarkable set of facts at hand. Jeff Zeleny, thanks very much for that reporting. All right, our panel is here. CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams, CNN political commentator, Republican strategist and pollster Kristen Soltis Anderson, CNN political commentator Sochi Hinojosa, and CNN senior political commentator, former Trump campaign advisor David Urban. We're also joined by Donald Trump's former attorney, Bill Brennan. Thank you all for being here on what is quite a newsy day. And David Urban, you're laughing to yourself. Yeah. This is obviously part of this release from the House Oversight Democrats here. I thought it was noteworthy that Caroline Leavitt used the word pedophile to describe Jeffrey Epstein. In the past, we've not heard White House officials use that word in the context of President Trump. How do you think the White House should be handling it? What does it tell you that they felt like they needed to meet in the Situation Room to try to prevent a vote for more of this to come out?
Yeah, look, the Situation Room is obviously, they're meeting there because probably went phones away and maybe talking about some very sensitive information regarding victims and other things. I mean, who knows? It's part of it may be classified. I'm not quite sure what they're discussing. But look, I've been pretty steadfast in my position on this from the get-go. Release everything. Right, I don't understand why during the Biden administration, Democrats weren't so excited about releasing all these Epstein files when Joe Biden was president for 4 years. We could have had this, and we could have had a hearing. What I think, again, we should have the line attorneys in the Southern District of Miami, as well as Alex Acosta, who was the prosecutor in this case, that gave Jeffrey Epstein a lighter sentence. We should have a hearing. We want to know what's going on? Let's bring those people forward and hear from them. I'm not so concerned about what's in the files. I'm not sure there's anything in the files. But I'd like to know why they gave him a much, much softer deal than he would have gotten otherwise. And I'm much more concerned about why the Democrats for the past 4-6 years haven't said peep about it until today. Just it's a little too right. But I'm for total transparency. Let's get it out there. It's the best. Sunshine's the best disinfectant.
Bill Brennan, you have served as Donald Trump's attorney in past lives of yours, and obviously are a practicing attorney currently. This seems to stink. What would your advice be?
Well, to a large degree, Casey, I agree with David Urban. If there was a smoking gun, they would have released it. The thing that was released today was an alleged email exchange between a convicted felon, man who died in prison for being charged with heinous crimes, and a alleged journalist who, instead of just reporting on what he purportedly received, was giving strategy advice on how to use it. Maybe we can use it for political capital. Maybe we can put it in our back pocket. You know, Casey, I've been on your show many times, and you've never given me any talking points or strategy advice. You ask me questions, and I answer them. So I think that if there was a smoking gun, we would have heard it. And I agree with David to release it all. Let's see what's in there. You know, if there's something bad, which I'll be shocked, frankly, but it is or it isn't. So release it all.
You're, of course, referring to Michael Wolff, journalist, author, who was involved in these exchanges with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein that we saw today. Elliot Williams,
yes.
There were some redactions in the documents that Democrats put out. Then Republicans released the redacted names. And they claim that it was because this victim, Virginia Giuffre, has publicly said she never witnessed any wrongdoing by President Trump. Obviously, the details here are important, but the big picture is also critical. I think I just keep coming back to this basic question of why won't they just put out all the files?
And we have a stunning degree of unanimity on this conversation today because we're all in agreement that this stuff should have been out there. Let's be clear. This is 100% a crisis of Pam Bondi and Donald Trump's making. They let this mess happen. Had 6 months ago, they simply released the document, said, number one, this is what is in our possession that we are allowed to make public. Number two, this is the material in our possession that we are not allowed to make public because the law does not allow it. And number three, this is what Donald Trump knows. Some of it might be a little bit embarrassing, but number one, he thinks Jeffrey Epstein is a creep, but he did not engage in any wrongdoing. And here's what he knew. If they'd just done that 6 months ago, they wouldn't be here dealing with this mess. And Pam Bondi standing at the Oval Office and suggesting that she had binders of information that she was passing out and was set to release the whole file only made this situation worse. They screwed up.
I wonder if this now further shades the conversation that Ghislaine Maxwell had with Todd Blanche before she was transferred to a Club Fed style prison where she's treated much better than the high security prison she was in before, the one that the type of people convicted of the type of crimes that she was convicted for usually stay in, the ones that are not transferred to the nicer facilities, obviously nicer being relative. Here's what Ghislaine Maxwell said to Todd Blanche. I think they were, regarding Donald Trump, I think they were friendly like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. Again, this is what she told Blanche in July of this year. The emails between her and Epstein from 2011 suggest something different. Seem to, at least.
Yeah, that's correct. And maybe she carefully worded that. She wasn't in the room, perhaps, when some of this was going on. But she certainly, look, she knows everything that happened. She is a very smart, shrewd woman, and she has the goods. I mean, she really does know what happened. So I think it's a little disingenuous of her to play as though she's still saying she didn't even know Epstein was, abusing young girls or young women. So her whole testimony with Blanche was really, in some ways, suspect from the very start.
I guess there are two questions here, and Ken kind of touched on this. There's one, did Donald Trump himself do anything inappropriate? Was he involved with any of the women? And we haven't, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there has not yet been a woman saying that happened to her with the president. Virginia Giuffre never said that. And then the second question is, did he know about it, though? Was he aware of what was happening on that island, on those planes, what Jeffrey Epstein was doing with Ghislaine Maxwell? And has he not been truthful about that awareness since this exploded into the public domain? Julie.
Well, look, there was one woman, in fairness, there was one woman that filed a lawsuit in 2016 claiming that when she was 13 years old that she was raped by both Trump and Epstein. That there was never any evidence presented in it, and the woman just quietly went away, disappeared just days before the election. So we can't, but it was a court document. It was a court lawsuit that was filed. So there's been that out there in the domain, but no, there hasn't been any credible evidence presented that Trump was involved.
But what about what he knew and when?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What about what he knew about it? I mean, I guess that is a more relevant question here today.
Well, I think that what these emails are showing, if nothing else, that he was part of Epstein's world very closely. The emails indicate that he was at Epstein's home. The emails seem to indicate that, that he might even have damaging information about Trump. I mean, there's one email from the author Michael Wolff which was written just before the election, where Wolff is sort of coaxing Epstein to tell the public what he knows because it would finish him, was the words that Wolff used. Now, Epstein was a fabulist. We know that he exaggerated a lot of things. So just because these are in these, some of this damaging information are in these emails doesn't make it true.
Let me just read that email. This is from Jeffrey Epstein again to the author Michael Wolff. This is from December 15th, 2015. So it's 11 months, 11 months before the election. He says, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in a scrum afterwards. This is about a debate. And then Michael Wolff says, if we were able to craft an answer for him, Michael Wolff said that. And then Jeffrey Epstein says this, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And then Michael Wolff responds with, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is about to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Julie, remind me exactly what was happening with Jeffrey Epstein in this moment. Was he getting renewed scrutiny? Was he about to be arrested again?
Well, this was when the lawsuits were also coming out against him and Trump. Remember, I just mentioned that woman who sort of went by the name Jane Doe and Katie Johnson. So there was this lawsuit, as I said, that was in the news at the time. So, and the questions were just sort of swirling around him just because of the Access Hollywood tape and the Stormy Daniels event. So there were a lot of questions right around this time about, you know, who he was involved with and what kind of sexual, you know, accusations were being made at the time.
Yeah, just to be fair, this is from 2015. The Access Hollywood tape didn't come out until...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, a little bit later. But yeah, there were still at the time questions about Donald Trump and his propriety. I mean, they'd been dogging him for years. So they were definitely coming up during the campaign in those early days. There was the Megyn Kelly dust up just a couple months earlier. So it was definitely out there, those questions.
Well, and also I just want to add the other one from Michael Wolff, not the one you read. There's another one that he wrote that's similar, that uses the word, it was right around this time where he uses the word, this could really finish Trump. So there's another email that wasn't part of the original 3 that were released where he is talking about this around the time of the election.
That's interesting. All right, let's bring in Tara Palmieri, author of The Red Letter on Substack, investigative and political journalist as well. Tara, so the president just posted this on True Social. He says the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country, while at the same time putting many at risk, and they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should focus only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. How worried is the White House? How worried is the president about this Epstein stuff, these emails, and what could...
More, by the way, from Capitol Hill today. House Democrats releasing new...
I wonder if this now further shades the conversation that Ghislaine Maxwell had with Todd Blanche. That died off over the summer during the shutdown. Where are they today?
Yeah, I think that they were following him. I mean, his believers tend to trust him when he says there's nothing there, it's a hoax. Where are they today? I think that there is universal support for releasing the files. If there's nothing there, then show it. There's just so much mystery around it, too. And for so long, he said that it's a cabal of elitist Democrats. So they want to see that, too. I think that there is bipartisan desire for justice in this story, despite what he says. I just think that you're not hearing it from the loudest voices online anymore on the right because they now work in his administration. They're Kash Patel, Pam Bondi.
Yeah. I wonder where do they think the threat is coming, the White House? What do they think might happen if Donald Trump is further implicated?
I think it obviously weakens his presidency. I mean, he's only got, another year until the midterm elections when he will truly be a lame duck president. But this is really damaging. The idea that the president is that closely associated with a pedophile ring. I mean, this is, you have to think the UK ambassador to the US had to step down for much less. I mean, this is really something to see how closely associated it is in all of his emails. Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
Someone who's trying to make it on TV. And so, this is just, I think it's political. It's kryptonite. I don't know how anyone can survive this, especially if the Epstein files reveal an even closer association. And it's a drip, 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 Katie. Like, it's the worst way to handle a story. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more there. There really is. Even Virginia Giuffre's book, she didn't even share all of it, all of the people that she was, trafficked to. It was 36 men. There's so many more. And that means that her files, her depositions, that men paid a lot of money to lawyers to try to redact their names. If those files are actually released unredacted, I mean, it will open up a whole new can of worms.
More, by the way, from Capitol Hill today. House Democrats releasing new Epstein emails, some of them referencing President Trump. The White House is pushing back on those emails and how the media is portraying them. Fox News senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy has the latest. Peter.
And, Will, officials here at the Trump White House, of course, would rather talk about their efforts to get the government reopened, something they hope happens later on today. But instead of just talking about that, they are also talking about these newly released emails, including this one from 2011. It is Jeffrey Epstein emailing his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. This one says, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, redacted name, spent hours at my house with him, has never once been mentioned." Officials here, though, are puzzled about why Democrats redacted the name of a victim, since that victim wrote a whole book about all this.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her.
House Oversight Republicans are saying Democrats continue to carelessly cherry-pick documents to generate clickbait that is not grounded in the facts. The Epstein estate has produced over 20,000 pages of documents on Thursday, yet Democrats are once again intentionally withholding records that name Democrat officials. Democrats should stop politicizing this investigation and focus on delivering transparency, accountability, and justice for survivors. And officials here basically believe that the biggest tell that all of this is politics as usual from congressional Democrats, as opposed to an effort by Democrats to get justice for Epstein victims, is that congressional Democrats lost all interest in this during the Biden administration, and that is indisputable. Will.
That is indisputable, as is the name Virginia Giuffre, who specifically contradicted what is suggested today by the press and by Democrats from these emails. I do think, Peter, the other big takeaway is the emails between Jeffrey Epstein and journalist Michael Wolff, who seemed to be coaching Epstein through this entire enterprise on how to blackmail President Trump.
If not coaching, then at a minimum advising. And to the point that the White House is making here about the lack of interest that congressional Democrats had during the Biden years, the folks who are on the Democratic side who say now that it is an urgent national security issue to get these Epstein documents out lost 4 years worth of momentum, and now they are back. The White House thinks the timing of everything is suspicious, and basically that they are just these House Democrats are sitting on different things to selectively leak on days that the news might be bad for them, like the day that a shutdown comes to an end. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. Thank you, Peter Doocy.
Kayla, what's up? What's up? Kayla Avery, 8115. What's good with you, Kayla? How you been? Yeah, shout out to Kayla in the house. Yeah, these Epstein files. I don't understand it. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me understand it. Me personally, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not. I'm just not a Trump fan. But let me say this. I don't think they got a smoking gun on Trump. I just don't think that. I do not believe that. Everything that I've seen and heard, if they would have had it, it would have got pulled out years ago during the Biden administration. It would have got booby-trapped and flung open while he was running to make him the best to be president the second time. I just, I don't dislike Trump, so don't get me wrong. I really don't. I don't dislike Trump. I don't think it's that. Now, here's what I believe. Here's what I think. This is just me. It's just that by Trump being there, being his friend, hanging out, whatever, and then they're protecting other people. Is other people being protected? I think that that's what's going on. I think it's an image thing for Trump, and there's other people being protected. It's like, you know, you just throwing a bunch of grenades around and it's just blowing up. It's exploding. But that's the politics, man. That's the politics. You know, I know this much. They told me growing up, if you ain't do nothing wrong, why you running from the police? If you ain't do nothing wrong, why you don't show me? See how those basic principles and concepts and ideas? And now we got people that's just going to protect the files, going to hide the files, be like it ain't, you know, it's whatever. And I just think it's a bunch of whatever. But anyway, I ain't say nothing this whole live, man. But, you know, when somebody wave at me with an authentic what's up, come from, yeah, Kayla Avery 8115, I had to run my mouth. But now I'm going to shut up. I'm gonna let Piers Morgan do his thing, man. Here we go. I'll shut up.
Their own minds. Well, joining me to discuss all this is criminal defense attorney and Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, the Democrat strategist and host of Endless Urgency, Mike Nellis, the New York Times best-selling author and host of The Edge, Eric Bolling, and the host of Bet News, Mark Lamont Hill. Welcome to all of you. Alan Dershowitz, let me just start with you, because you're obviously been very involved in this whole thing from start to finish and used to represent Epstein. Obviously, it's been leaked here, I would argue, I have some sympathy with the White House, in a way that makes it look as damning as possible. However, and I think it's an important however, it is certainly, on the face of it, it is stuff that if I was the White House, I'd be pretty concerned.
Sure, because there's guilt by accusation in the country today. If you're accused, you must be guilty. If you're suspected, if there's smoke, there's fire. I can provide some actual eyewitness testimony. I was Epstein's lawyer. I was trying to make him the best possible deal I could make. That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. And among the questions I asked him, as any lawyer would, is, can you name people who may have had improper sexual relationships with anybody? And if we can turn those people over to the government, we can maybe get you a better deal. And then I went through a variety of names, including Donald Trump. And Jeffrey Epstein said, no, Trump didn't do anything wrong. I can't say anything about him that would be helpful to the government, even if the government wanted to get him. So I put that question to him. Now, I put it to him well before this email of 2011. I put it to him in 2006 and 7 when I was representing him. But I never, in the years that I represented him, ever heard him saying that Trump was involved in any improper conduct. He did say, I know that for a fact, that he and Trump had a friendship, and that friendship broke up, and, you know, that whole story. The other thing that's important is that we must reveal everything. Everything has to come out. Nothing can be kept secret, because secrecy just absolutely encourages people to speculate, and speculate according to their own narrative, including what has to come out of the names of the accusers. Because some of the accusers, for example, there's a woman named Ransom. She accused Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, a variety of other people of misconduct. And then it turned out she admitted she made the whole thing up. So it's very important.
Shout out to Fickle1424. Fickle1424, thank you. Peace be unto you too. Yeah, I think it's important, man. We share the information and we get different sides. I think that's really important, man. So people don't get stuck on stereotypes, and it give people a chance to engage. And, you know, I mean, what do we know beyond what we think? We all have a position of sorts, but there's real victims. You know, these people were kids. A lot of these women were just impressionable young ladies that thought that they could conquer the world at the age of 13 or 19 or whatever, and they just didn't know. When you 13 years against somebody 3 times your age or twice your age, 21, against somebody that's 52, you think you can figure it out because you're thinking that they old and they don't know nothing, and you get played every time, man. Because, I mean, that's just life. It's just unfortunate when it happens on that side of it. But however it goes, like I said, I just don't think Trump is the one for that. I just don't. But there's other things going on, like protecting and all of that stuff. But I'll shut up. But anyway, thank you, Fickle 1424. That's what's up.
Important that to have total and full disclosure, we have disclosure not only of the accusations, but of the credibility or lack thereof of the accusers. So although I think these revelations are significant, I don't think they do anything to in any way imply or suggest that Trump did anything wrong.
Okay, Mike Nellis, I want to play you a clip before I get your response to that. This is from David Boies, who was Virginia Giuffre's lawyer, a top American criminal attorney for many decades, also repped a number of other of the Epstein victims. This is when I asked him specifically about whether he's seen anything against Trump. Have you ever seen any evidence that would suggest Donald Trump either took part in or was aware of any criminal activity involving Epstein?
Absolutely not. And we've looked. We've obviously looked at both President Trump and former President Clinton. We've looked at all of the really high-profile people, and between my firm's representation and Brad Edwards' firm's representation, we've represented dozens and dozens and dozens of victims, all of whom we've interviewed. We've looked at the documents, and although both Presidents Clinton and Trump had relationships, social relationships with Epstein that I know they regret, there's been no evidence at all. I'm quite confident that neither of them were involved in the actual sex trafficking or any of the sexual activities.
So, Mike Nellis, I guess when I heard that, what I felt was Trump was indisputably a good friend of Epstein for many years. He said he had no more contact with him after his conviction for pedophilia, which seems that's not been contradicted by any new evidence. But what you've got here, clearly, just on the face of it, when I saw this drop, is you've got emails which are, at the very least, raising some eyebrows about this, albeit nothing points to any criminality by Donald Trump. What is your view of this?
Yeah, well, I think if Donald Trump were innocent, he would be falling over himself to release every file that he could that would show that he was innocent to the American people. And they're doing the exact opposite. To me, he's acting like he's guilty. What he's guilty of, I don't know. Did he know what Jeffrey Epstein was doing? Did he abuse women? Was he taking out loans from Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know what it is that he's covering up or who he's covering up for. But at every stage of this, they have promised transparency and then they have refused to release this. Pam Bondi says the files are on my desk. We're going to get them out any day now. They trot out MAGA influencers to the White House. They have them waving binders like idiots on the internet. Whole thing's ridiculous. And they refuse to just be transparent and release the files. You said at the beginning of this that you have some sympathy for the White House because Democrats are maybe selectively leaking these things. But the White House can end this at any time by releasing all of the files unredacted outside of the victims' names. They could do that, right? They're not doing it. And so I think it's because
why not the victims' names? Why not the victims' names as well? That gives a fuller picture.
I want to make sure
we don't know if they're victims. Some of them are victims, some of them are not victims, and we have to be able to judge their credibility. In my case, for example, Virginia Giuffre publicly admitted that she may have misidentified me for years and years and years. So I'm just making a point. Why not release everything? Everything.
Alan, I would ask that you don't interrupt me. I won't interrupt you if you do the same. But look, the bottom line here is that Donald Trump has the power to end this scandal right now by releasing the information, and then we can hold everybody accountable, Democrat, Republican, everybody in between. But right now, this White House exists to protect the rich and the powerful, and they are protecting people whose names are in there. Maybe Donald Trump is guilty, maybe he's not. I don't know. These emails today sure make him look guilty as hell, but they refuse to do the right thing and just release these files. They could end this at any time.
Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Natural, makers of the Optimum Day and Optimum Night of is there any evidence of any criminality?
I don't. Yeah, I apologize, guys. I like the comment that Emily's 8728 made. Shout out to Emily's 8728. So many people are saying things that don't connect to anything I ever heard before about this case. That's true. There's a lot going on. Then we got Penny Jane 2022. Yeah, he's on the list, so he knows he's going down. He's got nothing to lose. Everybody fucking hates him. I'm gonna say this though, and then I'm gonna read my man Fickle 1424's comment. I'm gonna say this to you: like him, love him, or hate him. After he's done, when President Trump is no longer president, we're gonna experience 8 years of the most boringest government possible. I promise you that. It's going to be so damn boring because, and I'm not making any excuses for anybody, right now, man, this is the most interesting, exciting government I've experienced my entire life that I've even been paying attention. And after this shit go back to boredom, man. But anyway, my man. Anyway, where my man Fickle 1424 says, peace and faith be with all of you here, and have a blessed night, day, and evening. Also, he, she, without sin, throw the first stone. Damn. Fickle leaving us with a little wisdom there. That's true. That's true. Who the person that ain't never did wrong have a seat. All of us standing on our feet. I can't even say your name, but I'm going to say the number, 6165. Spend the taxpayer money. Hell, it's not like we have more things to do. How much they Y'all, I like the comments, man. Some of y'all got some dope-ass humor. But let me shut up and let the people that think they know what they really talking about have a word, right? Here we go.
Don't necessarily see it that way. First, don't underestimate Democrats' ability to lose elections and have bad strategy. That's the first thing. Second thing is, it is entirely possible that there is a smoking gun buried in there. And my fear is not that there isn't a smoking gun, but that there's also a smoking gun that implicates a bunch of Democrats. The issue here that you have to think about, potentially, is that Donald Trump is guilty of something, but so is, I'm just going to throw a name out there, Bill Clinton, because his name has been bandied about a bunch, and a whole bunch of other folk. And sometimes the powerful protect the powerful, not because they like each other or because they care about each other, but because it's a mutual assured destruction. I think that's why, and it's a rare day, but I agree with Alan Dershowitz that we need full transparency. We need all the documents released. We need all the information released, and let the American people make determinations about what's true and what's not true, so that we don't have to do this drip, drip, drip stuff. And then finally, the one place where I would disagree with Alan is when he says that there's no even implication here that the president did something wrong. I mean, when he says, and I'm going to redact the name because he redacted the name, victim spent hours at my house with Trump. He has never once been mentioned and referred to him as the dog that hasn't barked. And then said, Trump said he asked me, of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Maxwell to stop, or asked Ghislaine to stop. These are things that do imply that something bad happened. These are words that imply that he was somehow complicit. But it doesn't mean he did something sexual. It doesn't mean that he did something illegal necessarily. I don't want to overstate anything here. We have to be careful when we start accusing people of things. But there absolutely is something that needs to be explained, and the best way to explain it is full transparency.
Yeah, but Eric Bolling, the really weird thing about this is that everyone on the Trump side in the run-up to the election were very, very gung-ho about, we're going to release all the Epstein files. We're going to have full transparency. I remember all this. And then two things happened, which were just weird. Elon Musk, who fell out with Trump, suddenly out of nowhere, posts on his own platform, X, the real reason they're not being released is because Trump's in the files. And then literally within a few days, the whole investigation is just stopped. And there is no full transparency. There is no release of all the files. And so if you're looking at this with a cynical eye, or maybe perhaps a conspiracy theory eye, who knows? But if you're looking at this, you're thinking, well, what's gone on here? Why was everybody, I had members of the administration on my show saying, we're going to release everything. We can't wait to do it, blah, 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 blah. And then it didn't happen. And now you've got kind of what I would call political death by 1,000 cuts. We've seen it with formerly Prince Andrew in the UK. He was done in by leaks from similar leaks of emails. He's now lost everything in the last couple of weeks because of those leaks. We're now seeing the heat on Trump. I suspect there are lots of other high-profile names left in these files we haven't seen. David Boies suggested to me that between 6 and a dozen high-profile men named in the files probably deserve a criminal prosecution. So there's a long way for this to go. Can you make sense of how this is all played out?
No, and thank you for having me, Pierce, by the way, and great panel. Let me take this a little bit different. First of all, guys, we have a lawyer on the panel, at least one, maybe two. An implication is by no means evidence. Now, we heard the email say, regarding Jeffrey Epstein telling someone, Trump knew about the girls. That could be anything, you guys. That could be knew about the girls that Epstein was taking from Mar-a-Lago, because we know he was grabbing women that were working at Mar-a-Lago, bringing them to do his nefarious things that he was doing with them. We're jumping to a conclusion, and that's the problem with politics and the media, frankly. The media today, right now, Pierce, none of this stuff has been vetted. There's no context to any of these leaks and these now Democrats in the Oversight Committee releasing piece by piece, little bits here and there. I agree with you, Pierce. If there was a smoking gun, we would have known about it by now. If, God forbid, there's a smoking gun, Trump's involved, and then there are Bill Clinton and other donors involved, and everyone said, hey, you know what, wink, nod, let's just all keep our mouths shut. That's the problem with DC. And I don't think Trump is in that camp. I also agree that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel came out of the box. They leading up to their confirmation, right into their confirmation, right out of the box, they said we're going to release the Epstein files in full, unredacted. The whatever those packets were that some influencers were waving around at the White House. I don't know what changed, but they really, really shot themselves in the foot with the base, MAGA. MAGA wants to know who did what and when. I don't even think, I'm going to go out on a limb here. If Trump's name was in there and he's implicated, I don't even think it would move the needle on his approval rating within MAGA. But the problem is what he's doing right now, and I'll be very honest with you, I know the guy for 20 years. What he's doing right now is undermining his own credibility with regard to this topic. Release it, no matter what it is, release it. They'll get over it, Trump. You're one of a lifetime, if not an eternity of politicians that ever walk this earth. They'll get over it. I think everything should come out unredacted.
Here's, can I add something
it's
real quick?
Interesting. I very rarely, I was going to say, Mike, I will let you respond, but it's very unusual to have all four panel members agreeing about the fundamental point, which is, I think we all believe the best way for this to be dealt with is to release all the files. What do you want to say, Mike? Back to Eric.
Yeah.
You know what? I agree. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. I don't, being aware of it is one thing. Being complicit is another. And I know that complicity could mean not only participating, but around it and aware of it, or some wrongdoing, and you're too close to the wrongdoing, or you might be even participating in it. Like some parents used to say when I was a shorty, they used to say, look, not telling the truth and remaining silent is the first cousin to telling a lie. So if you stand there and see it and don't say nothing, you're aware of it. But here's my thing. Whatever the answers are, whatever it is, whatever side everybody on, it seems like the majority of the people are saying, release it. That's it. Release it. That's it. And the more they hang on to it, and the more you have women, this is the crazy part. Here's the part that throws you off. You got women who agree for it not to come out. It's a strange thing. And that's a strange thing to me. They was all, think about it. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, all of them, before they knew what was in those files, they was all about we're going to release him, we're going to release him, we're going to release him, we're going to release him. And then once they looked in there, somebody said, you're not releasing these. And they all just pumped their brakes. That's the version of selling your soul. The person that's participating in it, the person that did some wrongdoing, the person that's consciously aware that they're trying to protect someone because they're part of it, they're not selling their soul. They're protecting themselves from indictment. They're protecting themselves from public shame. They're protecting themselves. They're hiding the crime, okay? They're not selling their souls. The people who are selling their souls are the people who absolutely ain't in there, ain't been to the island, don't really know them personally, ain't did nothing, but they hiding it. They're going to be willing participants in suppressing it, not letting it come out, to hold their position, to be in good standing, to be a sycophant. Is it sycophant or sycophant? SYCOPHANT. Yeah, to go along, to get along. See, those are the people who sold their souls. You can't trust them. They have no integrity because they're not even willing to walk away from a bad, ugly situation that you have to live with and go home and look at your daughter, go home and look at your son, deal with somebody that you know been through the same thing because of this position you got. Them people, they're worse than the people that participated in it, in a sense. I'm not talking about in the physical sense. I'm talking about in terms of morality. I'm talking about in terms of integrity. I'm talking about in terms of being a soulless person. I would rather sit down and go into it with somebody who was in it and committed the crime than to be partial or partner with these soul sellers. Because you know who know that they sold their soul? The people, the president, whoever. They know that these people ain't nothing. Because one, you didn't commit the crime, but you're going to sell your soul to keep this position. You're going to sell your soul to be around and to be in. See? But anyway, I'm just talking about from morality, from integrity. The soul sellers, they're worse than the people who actually commit the crime on another level. Now, I'm just talking about on another level.
I want to add something that this White House and Donald Trump are making an intentional political decision. They've decided that this not knowing, this drip, drip, drip by the Democrats, this conversation about what Trump may or may not have done is better for them politically than just releasing all the files. So they've decided with great intentionality here that they'd rather keep something hidden, keep a conspiracy out there than just show people whatever the truth is. Again, I don't know what Donald Trump is guilty of or not guilty of, but I do know that they're hiding this and they've decided that this is politically better for them.
There's a very good chance it could be that they're going to wait until.
Let me come to, hang on. Sorry, don't all talk at once. I want to bring Alan, I want to bring you in to respond to that. But
see, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that we learned from day one when it comes to common sense. Nobody makes an effort to hide nothing. Let's just be clear on that. Let's be clear on that. If you don't like Trump, you're trying to send him to jail, you don't like him, whatever, fine. You love him, you praise him, you revere him, fine. You somewhere in between, fine. You're MAGA, you're not MAGA, fine. Here's something all of us know, all of us can agree on. You don't make a concerted effort to hide nothing. Not nothing. You just don't do it. People don't come together and conspire or what they call it, what they were saying when concluded. What was that word they was using when they were saying they in conspiracy? Whatever it is, I'm short on what the word is, right? You don't do it for nothing. You don't do it for nothing. And here's how you don't do. Here's how you know when somebody's hiding something. This is not just politicians. This is anybody. This is you and me. This is our family and friends. Look at a person's personality. Look at a person's persona. how they behave when there's nothing to hide. Look at Trump. How does Trump behave when there's nothing to hide? He be like, hey, show it to him. Let him see it. Here it is right here. You just don't go this far to hide nothing. You don't have all these people lined up to hide nothing. So whether you think somebody's after Trump or not, you have to agree that you don't go this far to hide nothing. That's all I'm saying. That basic principle right there. You can't, I don't see how we do that. To hide nothing, he didn't do anything. And we're going to hide it. Hide nothing. Did all this to hide nothing. He ain't do nothing. So whoever's saying he ain't do nothing, he ain't got nothing to do with it, he hide nothing.
I do want to just remind us of what Virginia Giuffre says in her book, which is a #1 bestseller.
All right, B.A. Rusty. I got to go with B.A. Rusty because I like his comment. It's legit. B.A. Rusty says, let me pen it first. B.A. Rusty says, Bill Clinton was on the island 27 times. Why don't you guys ever talk about that? Hillary Clinton was on the island 9 times. Why don't you guys ever talk about that? You got a legitimate point, B.A. Rusty. Why don't we ever talk about that? I don't know if you're talking about us or just in general when you see it on the lives or the different programs or the different shows. I don't even have a pushback for what you say. If you've been watching this close enough and you don't be seeing it talked about, I think what you're saying is legit. But here's my question to you, B.A. Rusty. Who goes this far to hide nothing? I want to see your comment to that. Who goes this far to hide nothing? It's nothing to see. It's nothing in the box. It's nothing in the bottle. It's nothing in the closet. It's nothing in the trunk. Who goes this far to hide nothing? I'm gonna look for your response to that if you're still there, B.A. Rusty. And I ain't pushing back on what you said about talk about Clinton and talk about Obama, talk about Hillary, all of them. But answer my question. Who goes this far to hide nothing? Answer that. Somebody answer that for me. Because I'm clueless.
Right now, obviously released posthumously after she so sadly took her life. But she said, she described the first meeting the real estate mogul Trump had in 2000, as he was then, with her father, Sky Roberts, when he was working as a maintenance man at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. They weren't friends exactly, but Dad worked hard and Trump liked that. I've seen photographs of them posing together, shaking hands. Trump couldn't have been friendlier, telling me it was fantastic that I was there. But she made it clear in the book that she did not have any issue with anything Trump had done. And so if as the Daily Mail was the first report today, the redacted name, and now we've had the White House confirm it, if the redacted name is indeed Virginia Giuffre, then the fact that he spent time talking to her, given that she used to work at Mar-a-Lago, even as Epstein's property, which all looks bad, but the fact that it's her, that redacted name, and she's on record now in her own words saying he never did anything wrong as far as she's concerned. You put all that together and you got to think, well, why did they redact that name? Have they done that deliberately to stir up a political point scoring thing against Trump? Because once you know it's Virginia Giuffre and once you know what she has said about Trump, it's nowhere near as damning. Mm-hmm.
No, of course I agree with
that's
that.
for you.
And the fact that Virginia Giuffre is mentioned is very significant because she's written the bestseller. She falsely accused me and then admitted that she may have misidentified me and, destroyed my life for years and years and years based on a possible misidentification. So putting her name out there is very, very important. But I want to correct the record on the White House. It's not the White House that's keeping a lot of the most important material out. It's judges. 3 federal judges in New York have sealed depositions I want those depositions out there. The depositions include depositions of Virginia Giuffre. They include depositions of other alleged accusers. And these judges, not the White House. The White House has no control. When judges seal materials, there's Judge Preska, there's Judge, I can name two or three other judges, and the New York Times and
And I'm listening to Alan Dershowitz, and I'm going to let him finish saying his piece in a minute. But the reason why I cut it off was great deceived, I'm going to just say the beginning and end. Great candidates. It's too long. I can't read it. But I pinned the comment, and I think the comment is interesting. So Great Candace says, you can't accuse people of things without letting them defend themselves. So if you release the names of the accused, you have to release the names of the accusers. That makes sense. That's one of them ones where I would say Great Candace is making it make sense. That's correct right there, right? Let's say they release the names, and you know how we're gonna do, and how the politicians gonna do, and the lawyers gonna do. They're gonna start dragging these people. It's not fair to drag these people if you can't even produce somebody that can qualify or dignify or add a balancing act to, is it real or not? Now I'll say this, I might be cheating on the conversation a little bit, but I don't think that that's what the Trump administration is worried about. And the reason why I don't think that that's what the Trump administration is worried about is because they got all these people riding around in cars, not even identifying themselves, with masks on, just grabbing you and taking you away. You don't even know who's arresting you. You just got to take their word. That might be a bad example. But I'm just saying, Great Candace, I think this is a great point. You can't accuse people of things without letting them defend themselves. So if I was on that list and I'm working somewhere and now my name comes up, I'm going to get me a lawyer and I'm going to challenge the discovery, and y'all better be able to produce somebody that can breathe life into my name being on there, or you're going to have to pay. So yeah, that was a great balance right there for me, because you basically said, "Talk, pump your brakes, consider this." And I think that was some legit input right there. Emily 8728 says, I'm not sure you can refuse the names of juvenile rape. Oh, I'm not sure if you can release the names of juvenile rape. But here's the thing, Emily 8728. I don't know what happens when the accuser is 34 now, 35 now. So take for the situation when I think they had some lawyer from Texas, Tony Busby, he was just suing everybody with the Diddy thing, right? And then at one point he launched a suit case against Jay-Z and P. Diddy, and at the time the girl was 13 or 15 or something like that. That girl was a woman now. Last year she was 34. So I don't know how that works, that when it happened they was a child and now they 40 or they 35. I don't know if they go to that person and I don't know how that works, but you have a good point there. But I was just saying, back to that Great Candace, that's something to think about. That's something to think about. It made me think. B.A. Rusty done came back. He or she ain't answered my question, but B.A. Rusty then came back. Even the accusers, these young ladies, said they never had or encountered anything with Trump. Never heard of Trump being accused of anything either. That form of I'm gonna say like this. And we don't know, right? But I'm gonna say from what I've heard over the years, from what I heard and what I've seen or whatever like that. If Trump was there, he had the approval whoever he was tricking off on. Because if he was tricking off with somebody, they ain't accusing them of nothing. They saying we good. These people saying we good. They not, and like Richard Mulehead 3568 is saying perverts, predators, all that. Yeah, they might be all that, but see, it's a funny thing, man. We live in a crazy world, right? Here go the world we live in. You know how women dress up? Like I know in the hood in the summertime, the young women dress up and you can see the crack of their ass. They dress up naked, right? Now, if I say something to them, curse me out, call the police, I'm going to call my man and he going to stomp you on the ground. If the dude they want say something to him, we could be the same age. We could both be 30 years older than him. We could both, whatever. The age won't even matter. If that's the guy they want saying something to him, it's good. So even when you trick off, if the hooker like you, the hooker like you. Hookers don't tell everything later on all the time. This is just a reality. I'm sorry. So if Trump was over there getting it in, none of the hookers was mad at Trump, no matter how young they was. Was he a pervert? Was he a predator? Possibly. I don't know how old the people were at the time. But the reality of it is, they not out here saying nothing bad about Trump. He might have been one of the, if he was, I don't know if he was, but if he did and if he was, they weren't mad at him. So you telling me none of y'all ever tricked off before where the people don't tell? Yeah, I know. Y'all so upstanding and pray to God and all that. Anyway, let me be quiet and play this. All right.
Piers Morgan ought to be making an application to these judges and demanding that these transcripts be revealed. Because if there are any smoking guns, if there are any serious accusations, they're in deposition transcripts, in my case, in the case of Ghislaine Maxwell, and in other civil cases that have been sealed. I have been trying to get all these depositions unsealed, and these judges won't do it. So let's put the blame where the blame belongs, on federal judges who are protecting some people. And that shouldn't be happening.
Alan,
so let's get everything out there,
I think we're mixing apples and oranges here.
Yeah, no, sorry. I want to make sure that people understand the depositions that Alan is talking about represent about 3% of what would be considered the Epstein files. That's the estimate on that. So 97% of the documents.
I don't agree with that.
That's the estimates that are out there.
I bet that's...
The 97%
more than 10%.
of the documents that haven't been released are in control of the White House and the DOJ. They could end this at any time. Yes, there are some things that are under seal, but the vast majority...
No, they can't, because they can't get the judges. It'll never end as long as judges are sealing depositions.
That's correct, Alan, but it is misleading.
But the other
well, let's get them out there.
Control their destiny.
I know what's in those documents. I know something you don't know. I know what's in those documents. That's why it's so important to get these judicial documents out there. I want them out there. If the judge will give me permission, I have them in my possession. My lawyers have them. Judge, let me give them to Piers Morgan. I want to give them to Piers Morgan. Why, Judge, are you preventing me from disclosing material that would be very, very important in putting a whole picture on this thing?
Well, I agree we should get those things out.
Okay, I want to bring in, hang on, guys. I want to bring in Mark Lamont Hill. Mark, aside from this, we also have the ongoing situation with Ghislaine Maxwell. House Democrats have said this week that she's preparing to formally ask President Trump to commute her federal prison sentence. She's obviously now in...
Here go the other thing. All right? Now, I want somebody to answer for me. Who goes this far to hide nothing? Can somebody, B.A. Rusty, you still ain't answered me. Yeah, B.A. Rusty, I'm calling you out. I'm going to pin what you just put, because... you be saying some good, you're legit on your comments, but you keep skipping over my request to you, though. Why you keep skipping over my request to you? My request to you is, since it sounds like you know how to make sense, dude, if they're not factual and you can't prove it, then don't make up some percentage bullshit. All right, that's that thing. I think what you're saying is legit. I just need you, B.A. Rusty, since you can weigh in and you got all of this insight and perspective. Who goes this far to hide nothing? To hide nothing. They wouldn't even swear the woman in. The Latina woman, the Spanish woman, or the Mexican woman, the lady that's sworn today. They set it off so she couldn't even get sweared in because they knew she was going to be the 218th vote for that, what they call a discharge petition or something. And I'm just learning how to remember discharge petition. So tell me, B.A. Rusty, who goes this far to hide nothing? It's nothing. He ain't did nothing. He not in there. They ain't saying nothing. Who goes this far to hide nothing? That's all I want to know. I'm confused about that. Ain't nothing in the bag. We're gonna hide oxygen. It's nothing to see. You say it's nothing to see. Who the hell go this far to hide nothing?
A less strict prison as we speak. She told the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche in an interview earlier this year that she never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way and didn't ever recall seeing Trump at Epstein's house, although she had seen him at social settings. What's interesting about that, I think, is that these emails seem to suggest that she must have known Trump had been at Epstein's house because Epstein's emailing her about it. So rather like with Andrew, the artist formerly known as Prince, although he's not an artist, rather like him, they're being damned in a way by these email leaks contradicting their public statements. And then if you think, well, if she's lying about that, if she's lying about knowing that Trump had been at Epstein's house, which seems to be the case, what else is she lying about? And obviously, she has a vested interest in saying whatever it takes to get Trump to commute her sentence. So all of that is going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I were sitting in a prison and Donald Trump were the person who could get me out, I would say that I saw the JFK assassination. I mean, like, it doesn't matter what the thing is if I need someone to get out. Credibility is shot from Maxwell, but not just for her. And I think that's what makes this so messy. And to beat the dead horse, that's why we need all the information released. Donald Trump says that he and Epstein fell out over competing, interests in a property. Next thing you know, it's because he was poaching people from Mar-a-Lago. The stories change. An email says that she knew that she had no knowledge of Donald Trump's actions. Later on, it's like, oh, she definitely knew. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what to believe when it comes to these people involved in this scandal, because all of them seem to be saying contradictory things, and that's the danger. But I can guarantee you one thing: her tune will not change if she's up for a commutation, because that's just human nature. That's just common sense.
You know what's interesting, Eric? I'm just checking here some background information we had before we did this panel. In a 2016 deposition for a civil case, Virginia.
Hey, I had to post the comment made by, I can't pronounce it, so just excuse me, Zizek. But anyway, and so on. Zizek says, I love this comment right here. Zizek says, hold up, where is that? I gotta open it up. Yeah, Zizek _ and so on. We protest Israel, corporate corruption, and Epstein files at the same time. We multi-text, boo, ha! Y'all hear that? That's how we get down in this country, or whatever country he from, wherever we from. That's the likes of it, right? Got to multitask. You can do more than one thing. A lot of things can be true at the same time. Like, I need to shut the hell up and say what's on my mind at the same time. All right, I'm going to shut up. I like that comment, though, anyway.
Giuffre was asked if she believed Donald Trump had witnessed the sexual abuse of minors in Epstein's home. She said, I don't think Donald Trump participated in anything. I never saw or witnessed Donald Trump participate in those acts, but he was in the house of Jeffrey Epstein. Then she added, I've heard he has been, but I haven't seen him myself, so I don't know. Now, again, the significance of that, which is 9 years ago, is that clearly from the Epstein leaked emails today, he's talking about seeing Virginia Giuffre in his house with Donald Trump for a number of hours, which would contradict her statement there, made 5 years after that email was sent, saying, I haven't seen him myself, so I don't know. So again, what we're seeing is a kind of, through these leaks, because they're coming selectively, we're just seeing a lot of stuff that's been said publicly by everybody involved, seemingly, getting contradicted by the leaks. But we don't have all the leaks, we don't have all the information, and it's quite hard to work out proper context for this stuff.
Pierce, and the sad part is being this far removed from when the actual nefarious operations, things were going on in the island and also in Manhattan, et cetera, around the world. We're looking back, and now all of a sudden, any sort of crossing paths with Jeffrey Epstein is some sort of guilt or an indictment of Trump or anyone else. Let's not forget, Bill Gates was at many high-level celebrities were at this island. Did they participate in the sexual rape, the pedophilia going on? No one knows. But certainly because they've crossed paths or Epstein casually mentioned someone's name in an email that, yeah, that guy knew, doesn't indict them, doesn't make them guilty of it. And what's happening is now the Democrats are releasing this the way they are. And frankly, the way the Trump administration handled the original, we're going to release and then pulled back, is creating this media circus around it. Clearly, it's a media. Epstein has massive appeal to the consumer, to the news consumer and the political consumer. I just don't think it's going to have a political influence the way the way I believe the Democrats think it will. My guess is there may be some sort of smoking gun with Trump, but it also will incorporate some high-level donors on both sides, maybe some friends of Trump, certainly some friends of Biden, or it would have come out during the Biden administration.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with this guy. I mean, my position is on this whole release the files thing. I think that Trump is more concerned about who it's going to hurt that he might be friends with, that he might owe favors to. They might have done favors for him. I think Trump, like I said, when you look at people's personas or their personalities, right? And you can kind of see how they move, right? And so we have the advantage a lot of times, even though we don't go home with people, we see how they move in the public spaces. We see their ego, their pride, their anger, their joy, their humility. We get to see that, So we know that look of anxiety or anguish, that giddiness and all of that stuff. In fact, I'll give you an example with Trump. Here's what I noticed with Trump. You ever notice how happier and more cooler Trump appears to be when Charlie Kirk's wife is there, the widow, Charlie Kirk's wife? I can't even remember her name. And that's just, it was horrible what happened to her husband, what happened to Charlie Kirk, because I just thought we was way beyond looking at a TV or standing somewhere and watching somebody get executed. Yeah, I know we got the drive-by shootings, we got active shooters, and we got people gunning down kids. I get that. But this idea that there's a sniper somewhere and then you get gunned down, it's terrible. But his wife, if you notice the times when she's around on the stage with Trump, he just has this little air of, I'm a little cooler right now. I'm jazzy with it, right? And then at other times he's not. I'm just using it as a small example, and I might be being the king of bad examples right now, but this is just my effort to say, when you learn people just by observing them and watching them, you know how they move. Now, Trump, to me, is the type of person that if it's just him, he don't care that much. Trump don't care that much. So what? You caught me. But Trump would care if there's collateral damage, because he might care how they might respond to him because of maybe his relationships. Maybe he did some business. Maybe there's a quid pro quo. Maybe they paid him. Maybe he paid them. However it goes, right? And here's why. I haven't seen anything yet, except these Epstein files, that Trump has said or did that the supporters don't forgive him for, that he hasn't landed on his feet about. I don't care what it is. Anywhere from calling somebody stupid and ignorant and unintelligent, low IQ, all the way to reminding people that Joe Biden won't know how to spell his name next year, or probably forget how to spell his last name. All of that. I think that Trump can come, because after the initial, he shouldn't have did that. After the initial that's messed up that he that way, people fall back and they land or take the position on what's still important to them. And even though I didn't vote for Trump the first time he ran for office, and I didn't vote for him this time, I will be the first to admit and argue and present there's several things Trump has did in these first 10 months or 11 months of being president. There is no freaking way whoever else would have became president would have been able to do it. Just spare me even thinking that would have been possible, because Trump did not follow the standard protocols. And because he did not follow the standard protocols, and sometimes he just uses brute force, he was able to force things to either get done or force things to expose that we can't get it done. And he does that shit in such a short amount of time. Sometimes he blows the building up, but you know, what are you gonna do?
And everyone's staying quiet. And once again, the American people get screwed. We get completely blindsided by the swamp and the disgusting shit that goes on. You know what's even bigger than this that no one's talking about? The $100 or $200 million that congressional members and senators have paid victims of their own sexual abuse. Yet we're worried about whether Donald Trump knew or didn't know what was going on at the Epstein mansion when it was going on. At this point, who the hell really cares?
Well, I got to say, I care, actually, and I've known Donald Trump a long time. I like him personally. He's been a friend of mine, but I care. I care because 2,000 young women and many underage girls were abused by a lot of rich, powerful people, and we still have only had one person held accountable for that, and it was Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman. Right, so no man has ever been held properly accountable. Epstein cheated accountability by, I believe, taking his life. Others think otherwise, but I think he probably did.
I don't mean,
Alan, what I want to bring to you
to belittle the victims. So I'm not belittling the victims. I agree that anyone who's known to have participated in this as a man, or anyone who facilitated the abuse, the pedophilia, Ghislaine Maxwell and others, should be held accountable, should be in jail. I absolutely agree. I meant for Trump politically, release the stuff. Let people know.
If you owe back taxes to the IRS, they can gun you about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So we've had that. Now that's during Trump's first term, 7 months before Epstein takes his life. Epstein wrote to Wolf, apparently, to address Trump's claim that he asked Epstein to resign his membership. He claims in these emails that he hadn't done. The White House says Trump barred him from Mar-a-Lago for being a creep and for stealing employees to go and work for him. And it turned out abuse.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this comment by CJ Bold UC 3330. Man, y'all got some hell of a handles, man. CJBOLDUC3330. So his comment is, because I apologize, I can't read your handle correctly. So his comment is, would you be friends with a friend? Would you be friends with a friend of Epstein? Would you be friends with a friend of Epstein? Would I be friends with a friend of Epstein? So there's somebody that's a friend of Epstein. Would I be friends with that person? Why wouldn't I? Like, why wouldn't I? Like, yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Well, I can't be your friend because he's your friend. You know, when it comes to friendship or relationships, it's not that simple. I know a lot of y'all think it is, and it is to a lot of y'all, and I get that. But I think what happens is when you live, when you understand or experience life, people don't get it depending on what's happening. I had homeboys growing up, rob banks. I was still their friend, even though they didn't have any more money. You know, I was their friend. I had a homeboy. He did something to somebody, to a girl. He got 3 years for that, 6 years. I was still his friend, but I was also the friend that was telling him, yo, that was some fucked up shit you did. I was also the friend that said, look, when she come back with her brothers and I'm with you, you on your own. I was also the friend that, I didn't condone what he did. So you might be saying, well, all right, if you ain't condone what he did, you wouldn't help him when she came back with her brothers. He got 3 years and he came home and you was whatever. How was you his friend? Because, friendship don't require a blind faith. I'm there for you, whatever you do. No, if we cool and we already friends, we already friends. And I mess with you, you ain't, now, of course, there are some things somebody that's your friend can do where you like, man, I can't deal with you, bruh. Because now that goes against my principle. That goes against my pedigree. I don't stand on that. But there's so much room, man, when they want somebody. It's like when I was dating, when I was a shorty, and young women, they would say, do you gotta, you just like thin women, you got a problem with girls that might be thick. I tell them, look, once I'm in love with you, you can get fat as you want, man. It's just that first impression, I'm a little superficial. So this idea that you're not going to be friends with nobody connected. Who don't have a dope fiend, an alcoholic, a pedophile, a this and that somewhere close to the family friends? If you live in that world, you doing good, man. You doing good if ain't none of that around you. You doing good if you ain't never visit nobody in prison. You doing good if you ain't never had to help get somebody out on bail. You doing good if you never seen what you living a great fucking life. I don't come from there. So all that shit about I couldn't be friends with nobody. All right, I don't smoke cigarettes. Is you friend with somebody that smokes cigarettes?
Some of them. But in a third email, Wolf writes Epstein, wrote to Epstein with the subject line, heads up. This is December the 15th, 2015. That's the day of a CNN Republican primary debate. Wolf says, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in the scrum afterwards. Epstein responds, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? To which Wolf replies, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it's possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a great guy and has gotten a raw deal as a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Now, lots to unpack there, but my reading of this, why is Epstein saying if we're able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Should we read into that he's maintaining some contact with Trump, that he actually would want to send his thoughts to Trump? And then you've got a pretty sort of, Michael Wolff's role in this is obviously clearly very, some would argue he's just being a classic investigative journalist, but the sort of way he's plotting for Trump to hang himself, as he puts it, by answers that it looks like they may give him to say, it all looks a bit weird, doesn't it?
It does, and we have to understand too that when Jeffrey Epstein talks to a journalist, he's talking in his own self-interest. So we have to ask questions about what is his motive? Is he telling the whole truth? Is he trying to curry favor? Is he trying to attack? We know that Jeffrey Epstein was an extraordinarily manipulative guy, and so you don't take at face value anything he necessarily says, especially when he says it to an interviewer who's going to be writing a book which he hopes will be favorable to him. So I think skeptical minds have to be kept open, which is why every piece of documentation has to be revealed. Nothing. By the end of this, there shouldn't be a single piece of paper, a single recording, a single videotape that has been suppressed. Until everything has been released, nobody can be satisfied that the whole truth has come out. Even if everything has been released, we have to look at the statements critically, because not necessarily are every statement being made absolutely credible and true.
But Mike Nellis, I mean, that line, the more you read it, look, it may be misleading, it might be ambiguous, I might be misreading it. But for Epstein to reply to Wolf when he's told CNN are planning to ask him about his relationship with Epstein, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? I mean, is there any other way of reading that than that Epstein is still in contact with Trump to be able to do that, or what? I mean, what are we reading into that?
No, I mean, it seems to me like they were still in contact. We know that they were close. We know that they were friends. And I think the other thing I would add to this is the number of times that Donald Trump or someone in his orbit has lied about his relationship with Epstein is just unbelievable to me. It goes back to the goofy, weird, creepy birthday card that they sent. Even Donald Trump was like, I've never made a doodle in my life, when we know, document-wise, he has made doodles like that in the past. It lines up with what he was doing at the time. So they just keep lying. And to me, it does seem like they were probably having contact, probably coordinating on some level. And Michael Wolff's email is also interesting to me because he's talking about using it as leverage if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States. If Epstein is in hot water, he wants Trump to win. He wants to protect Trump, leverage that to get a pardon or a commutation. And I want to add something a little bit to what Eric said a few moments ago about why this is so important, because I really believe this Epstein scandal is super important, not just because of the politics of it. I think the politics on it are going to be a wash, because if we get everything out there, there's going to be lots of Democrats implicated, going to be lots of Republicans. But we're in this situation where a lot of people do not believe that the federal government is going to take care of people, and that this government right now under Trump is a protection racket for billionaires and incredibly wealthy and powerful people. So we need to make sure that all these documents get out there, that these people are exposed, that people are held accountable, and they get some justice for these victims. I think that's incredibly important, regardless of the partisan politics of it. You go back 20 years to the Wall Street financial crisis, nobody was held accountable for crushing the economy. Nobody was held accountable for all the folks who had their lives ruined and their homes taken away from them. I think this is the same thing. We've got to show that this is...
Yeah, that's the part I don't get. Peter Gonzalez, 8196. Yep, Peter Gonzalez, 8196 says, how jail time right now, or present time right now, it's like she's in the country club. Donald Trump is saying, thank you, babe, for not ratting me out. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what he doing. She didn't rat him out. She kept it 100. She kept it a stack. She held it down. Look, I'm going to lie. I'm going to say whatever you want me to say. Why? Because you're in the position to make this thing smooth for me. You also in the position to make this thing rough. So guess what? I'm going to keep it a stack. I know what I need to say. I'm going to say it. So she minimum security. She can't have, she on some type of detail where she training the German Shepherds or the pit bulls or the hounds. She getting special meals. See, all of that. That's what it is. That's just what it is. I mean, what do you expect? And when Donald Trump leaves office, that's the craziness. Before he leaves office, people are going to be really shocked in the people that he wind up pardoning on his way out. I'll tell you somebody I think he's going to pardon on his way out. If Diddy not home, if P. Diddy, if Puff not home before Donald Trump's presidency ends, I think he's going to pardon him. I think he's going to pardon Ghislaine, whatever her name is, Epstein. I mean, it's just in the mix. I mean, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Like, it's just going to be done.
It's not a two-tier justice system where the rich and the powerful can get away with abusing people and destroying people's lives.
It's fun. Can I just jump in there?
Yeah,
How unique and hypocritical that is for you to say, Mike. Thank you for jumping in on the political nature of whether the political needle moves or not. No matter what's in there, I agree. I think it's going to be a wash, no matter what names are on there. I find it kind of funny now. You're talking about equal justice applied under the law, when the guy Trump just went through 4 years of the most ridiculous, unequal, two-tiered level of justice that we've ever seen. Alan can weigh in on this if you think I'm wrong. I mean, they were making felonies out of misdemeanor charges just so they can see if they can get a felony attached to Trump. And now all of a sudden, I think the Democrats were wrong. The lawfare that went on for the 4 years is wrong. And I also think that Trump should release this no matter who was in it, even if his own name is smack dab in the middle. One final thought. Let's not forget, Donald Trump told his people to disenfranchise Jeffrey Epstein, give him back his membership, get him away from Mar-a-Lago. There's a reason for that. I mean, this finger pointing is nonsense until we have the names and context of what's going on. We can't indict and convict Trump until we know what happened, and then he goes through due process. That's my final thought on. But let's understand whether Trump's guilty.
Can I respond to that, Pierce, real quick? Sorry, just because it was directed to me.
Yeah.
I mean, one, I disagree with the assertion that there was a two-tier justice system for Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump has committed many crimes and he should be held accountable for that. Fine, we're going to disagree. I look forward to you speaking out with just as much veracity as you just had when Donald Trump, indicts Adam Schiff this week, which is supposed to be rumored over some bullshit stuff that they've trumped up. I'm sure that there have been times in the past under Democratic and Republican administrations where the DOJ didn't do its job the way that it should have. But in this administration right now, Donald Trump is personally interceding, firing and removing people who aren't going after his political opponents. The stuff with Tish James, James Comey, it's all bullshit. And it shows you that everything that Donald Trump does is about his personal
he's going after these people for the same things that they went after him for, which were bullshit in the first place. The classified document storage, are you kidding me? Joe Biden
let's remember what Trish James.
But Joe Biden's not the one who ordered that stuff.
Tish James went after Donald Trump for how his mortgage was prepared on a document when she was doing the same damn thing.
But hold on, there's a different thing here.
At least be fair. At least be fair about this.
Eric, let me add something though, because the difference is most of these charges that Donald Trump has had the DOJ bring against Comey and Tish James and others, they're likely going to be thrown out. The difference is that Donald Trump was found guilty by a jury of his peers of fraud. Now it's in the past now. The American people decided they didn't care about that. But if you think it was wrong,
peers is very, very
let's set the record straight.
Creative on your part.
Let's set the record straight on Trish James. Trish James ran for office. The only time I've ever heard a prosecutor do this since Stalin's time, on the claim of, I'm going to get Trump, no matter what he did. I haven't done any research. I haven't looked at it. But my campaign is get Trump. And she tried to get him in every way. She tried to invent crimes she couldn't find. Finally, she went after him civilly. Then they went after him criminally. I have never seen a weaker criminal case in my 60 years of practicing law than this miraculous conversion of a misdemeanor, which was time barred, into a felony based on multiple choice. In 60 years, I have never seen a worse case, criminal case, than the one against Donald Trump. You may be right. You may be right about things that Donald Trump did, but these cases against him by Trish James and by the District Attorney of New York are two of the worst cases I have ever seen in my years of practicing criminal law. And what we're seeing is warfare and lawfare on both sides. And it has to stop on both sides, not just on one side. Now, you can't blame Biden for that, but you can blame two democratically elected New York officials, Trish James and Alvin Bragg. And Alvin Bragg was just reelected, and Trish James will probably be reelected. They have absolutely violated their norms of criminal justice and done terrible things in order.
Well, guys, I want to say thank you for everybody stopping through. I'm about to crash out, man. I got to jump up early in the morning. But shout out to everybody, man, that came through and gave your opinion. And that's what it's about, man, weighing in, sharing your opinion, taking your position, and opening the eyes of other people. I always get something from something in the chat, because somebody always say something that make me be like, oh yeah, I ain't even think about it like that. So I be so pumped up sometimes, like, they got him. And then I be like, oh yeah, there is a underlying law or procedure, or you really just can't do that, even though it looks one way or another, right? So I get it. I get it, man. But anyway, like I said, it's your boy Talk Williams, host and creator Hip Hop 50th. Thanks for stopping through, man. I'm gonna catch y'all early in the morning. Yeah, peace out. Shout out to my girl Kayla. If you gone, it's all good. Yeah. I'm glad you came through. Yeah. All right. Peace out, guys. I'm out. I'm done. And Zizak, and so on. Peter Gonzalez, 8196. Yeah. I like these names. I love their handles, man. Not one more war. That's slick as shit. Not one more war. A warning to Americans from 1948. Albert Einstein letter to the New York Times, December 4th, 1948. Internet Archive. Yeah, if you really want to see something, look at that Wayback Machine. Is it called Wayback Machine? Where they recorded everything on the internet and they got a copy of it. Trinity Meadows 2811 said, took one misdemeanor past the statute of limitations and turned it into 34 felonies set up. Yeah, them felonies are some bullshit, man. Like I said, I ain't vote for Trump, but I'm telling you now, man, a lot of that shit is, man, that shit wasn't even right when it was done. Kayla Avery 8115, peace out. Yeah, I can end it on that, man. It's a